Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined by Brian Leonard, and we're going to break down a pretty big college football game this Saturday. Got two top 25 teams meeting up with Georgia Tech and Notre Dame, Brian, and would have been a little bit better if everybody was at full strength. Georgia Tech's at full strength because they played two cupcakes the first 2 weeks and barely broke a sweat in beating Elkhorn State 69-6 and Tulane 65-10. Rolling in here, the public's going to say, this is a juggernaut. How's Notre Dame going to stay with them?
You know, we see this every year. This is a team, if you like to lay points, Georgia Tech, when they play a weaker team, they don't change. You know, a lot of teams will back off on the offense. You know, if they're the passing team, they'll just run it. This is what they do. They run, and they wear you out. And so that's why you'd love to bet them when they've got an outclassed opponent.
And you've got teams coming in, and this is a great handicapping tip. Elkhorn State and, Tulane kind of, but not as much. But Elkhorn State, this was a payday. That's all it was. It was a payday for the program. They get big bucks to go to a school and just get their butt beat. I mean, it's pure and simple. And as you said, with Georgia Tech, what makes it even tougher is the offense that they run. There is no vanilla to it. It's the triple option. They got the option attack, and these schools don't see this all the time. It's hard to prepare for, and they're going to get rolled over. Georgia Tech's going to score points on them, and even when they get the backups in there, it's as I said, when you got a running team with a big lead, I'd rather have a running team laying a big number because I worry less about the back door than I do when I have a passing team that tries to shut the engines down because then nothing happens. This team still is going forward. But let's switch to Notre Dame. Opening week, they crushed Texas. Looked like world beaters, and I love everybody. You watch one game and, you're putting them in the, playoff picture at the end of the year because of their schedule, this and that. And last week, I know, you were on it. I was on it in the contest. Didn't make my premium card, but, some of the contests that were in town, Virginia plus the points, it was the perfect spot for a letdown from Notre Dame. Now, unfortunately for Notre Dame, they lost their starting quarterback in the game. It still was a tight game while he was in there. The game was going the way we felt it would go. The line was inflated because of what Notre Dame did and what Virginia did going, out west and getting beat up a little bit and then coming home. Virginia looked worse than they were, but that's tough to open a season on the West Coast for an East Coast team and play a team, as good as they played in that opening week. Now, can they stay with Georgia Tech, losing their quarterback last week, and then if the first week they lost their top running back as well?
They're also without one of their top receivers. But just like all the other powerhouses in college football, they do have a lot of depth. Interesting handicap here because you've got a Georgia Tech team who's covered 9 straight games. Now, when the lines maker puts out a line on Georgia Tech or a team that is covered, they know that the people who won on them last week are going to come back and bet them again. So you had Notre Dame opening as a favorite, and now it's gone to Georgia Tech being the favorite. And you've got a Notre Dame team who has not defended the option attack. They play Navy all the time, and they always struggle against Navy. Physically, they're so much bigger than Navy. But now we're looking at some line value here on Notre Dame. Which way do you go here? Do you take the hot team? Do you take the Georgia Tech, who should be able to move the ball pretty well on the Irish? Or do you take the line value with the Irish at home as an underdog?
Yeah. To go to the Navy point that you bring up there, yes, they've had trouble with Navy at different times, but it's a situation where I think so often Notre Dame, because they've got all those other big, they always had Michigan State on their schedule and then pops up a Navy or an Air Force, they kind of look past those guys. And then you throw the quirky offense in. But the fact is, they do have game film that they have faced it. So many teams face Georgia Tech and they don't face the option at all. Notre Dame faces it when they face Notre Dame, or when they face Navy, when they face Air Force. So they do have experience, and they're not going to take them granted, but losing the other players is going to hurt. But I'll tell you one thing, this game is really similar to BYU and Boise State last week. BYU lost their all-everything quarterback in the first game. The backup comes in, hits a miraculous play at the end to win. And then Notre Dame last week, same story, lose their top quarterback. Guy comes in, hits a play at the end of the game. And we saw what BYU did the next week. They went home and they beat Boise State. Do you think Notre Dame has a shot at doing the same thing here?
They do. Well, you take a look at the individual talent. I think that Notre Dame's obviously got more talent here, and they are playing at home, but I'm telling you, Johnson's a terrific coach, and that guy wins wherever he goes. He's just a great spread coach to bet on. I'm not going to stand in front of that train. It's either going to be a pass for me. I just, especially now.
Georgia Tech or pass, you're saying?
Georgia Tech or pass to me.
And I know you hate this phrase, but put the gun to my head who I'm going to take in this one. I know sometimes you would like to put the gun to my head, but I'm going to lean to Notre Dame. I just think the mystique of Notre Dame in the home underdog role, I think they rise to the occasion here. I'm going to call it Notre Dame 30-27. And that is our National Spotlight Game of the Week. And guys, you can check out all the videos this week over at wagertalk.com. Just click on the video podcast tab and you'll see everything we did this week in studio.